a few minutes for people to get on. Hello, Fresh. Hello, Aman. My daughter used this thing the other day, so I gotta get it all recalibrated. Pet the cat. Hello, everybody. I've done a live stream in a while, and a rare moment I find the house empty with just me and the kitty cats down here. And just wanted to do a live stream. We'll do a Q&A. There's a few things I want to talk about while it's still fresh in my mind. And good morning, everybody. Looks like quite a few on here. Checking in from Eureka. Hello. Bigfoot o'clock. We can talk about Bigfoot. Love your videos. Thank you. So the first thing I wanted to talk about while it's fresh in my mind is, I know it came out a while ago, but it's on Amazon Prime now, is Missing 411 The Hunted. A lot of you folks are familiar with the Missing 411 series, which is where people all around the United States, especially in geographical clusters, go missing, and it's under strange circumstances. You know, they're going down a trail, they literally go around a corner and they vanish. There's inclement weather. The bodies are never found, or if they are, they're found way far away. And sometimes it's children or older disabled people. And there's just a lot of high strangeness. There's just a lot of high strangeness involved with these cases. Now, a few years prior, David Pilates, who's the author, he's a former investigator, wrote these books. He's also a Bigfoot researcher, and we're going to talk a little bit of that and why it's important. He was looking into these missing 411 cases. He wrote these books. They've been out for a long time now. I think the first ones were 2006 or 7 or 8. I mean, it's been a long time. And he's wrote a whole series of them in and out of cities, east, west coast, all around the place. And he's never really said what they were, what he thinks was causing it. He always keeps it very vague. It was some, compelling force. It was something of high strangeness. He obviously he knows more of what's going on, and he has his opinions. Why is it whenever I do a live stream, the cat just will not leave me alone? So I just saw Missing 411, The Hunted, which is actually a sequel because he came out with Missing 411, the movie, a few years prior. And it was okay, but it didn't really dive deep into enough. It just followed like a couple of stories of missing kids. And this one, The Hunted, which I found was quite a bit better, it was about missing hunters. And then he could really delve into the strangeness. And like I said, it's free on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime or you have an Amazon membership, you can go watch it. So what's really interesting, if you guys are familiar with Ron Moorhead, is one of the clusters of missing people, which is just north of Yosemite National Park, where there's a huge cluster of 50 plus missing people going back. It's like the missing person capital of the world. In fact, every year there's 3 or 4 unsolved people. And I've got relatives and friends that go to Yosemite National Park, and I'm like, there's a big missing person problem there, and I just get a cross-eyed look like I'm making it up, or I'm lying, or it's not a real issue, or it's a tall tale. And I'm like, no, there are literally almost into the hundreds of missing people in Yosemite. Kids literally going around a rock or a corner, or people going for a hike, or I'll be back in 5 minutes, I'm going to go use the bathroom, and never seen again. So anyway, just north of that, there's an area, and it's right near Ron Moorhead's Sierra Camp, where he got the infamous Sierra sounds, and he appears in Missing 411, The Hunted. And what's really interesting to me is during the Ron Moorhead, where they have all the hoops and hollers, and he's telling us stories about these 8-foot tall creatures and the strange lights and everything, they tried really hard. Not once did they ever mention the word Bigfoot or Sasquatch. So I thought it was very interesting that, they tried really hard not to mention Bigfoot or Sasquatch. And I think he's doing that for credibility, as it to be more of just a regular documentary about missing people and not to be paranormal. But the fact that you have Ron Moorhead, one of the biggest Bigfoot researchers, talking about strange sounds and 8-foot tall creatures in the night, and you're in an area of missing people, Sierra in California. Yes, that's the Sierra Nevada mountain range in the central northern. It's a huge mountain range that goes through California. So you have him talking about his Sierra camp and his experiences, but you don't ever mention Bigfoot. And then in the final, not, I guess I'll go ahead and ruin it. I mean, a lot of you guys have seen it. If not, they talk about the predator case, which this lady saw, like it looked like a predator move from tree to tree. It's kind of that cloaked, shimmery look. But not once did they ever talk about. They never called it out by name. They always just kept it vague of some strange force, some strange phenomenon, something going on that we don't understand, which is true. Then he said, but he never once mentioned possibly interdimensional, something to do with infrasound or something to do with vibrational frequencies. They never got into the actual science of any of it. So, personally, what I think is going on when people say they see the predator or they see these strange lights or a patch of woods that couldn't support a large creature has like a Bigfoot creature known to roam around in it. Hey, sassy Squatch girl. I think it's very interesting that there's a lot of those out there and a lot of reports. It seems like every patch of wood has its boogeyman or monster. And the interdimensional or extra dimensional theory, I think that might be true. I mean, quantum physics has proved that there are other parallel dimensions out there. And I think if you have vibrational frequencies crossing over, the way your eye perceives it, or the vibrational frequencies of your eye, or something literally like phasing in and out of a current space could possibly be. If we see that, it might appear blur like a predator. In these orbs, he talks a lot of in the missing 411, the hunted. He talks a lot of witness reports about orbs and how they saw them in the Sierras. They saw them all over the place, and these streaks of light, so these bars of light that look like a blade of a lightsaber going through the woods. I myself, a long time ago, had an orb encounter, and it was right after a Sasquatch encounter that I had. So there's definitely something to it. If it's a portal or a dimension or some kind of like a vortex or something where spirits or beings or consciousnesses, disembodied people, pure energy, plasma, something intelligently controlled coming in. That's about the only thing I can think of. Mounts and Monsters is not real. No, it's not real. So anyway, if you guys have a chance, go check out Missing 401 The Hunted. I'm actually really not a big David Pilates fan. I think he's a bit pompous. I think he blocked me on Twitter for some reason. I don't even have a Twitter anymore, but back when I did, I think that some of my criticisms are he won't talk about Bigfoot and he won't entertain the idea of Bigfoot. Now, like I've said many times on this channel, I think in some extreme circumstances in some parts of the world, maybe Sasquatch, Dogman, some of these paranormal creatures or creatures that can't be explained. I think maybe on occasion they do take people. I think they take them for food. There's reports of them helping people, rescuing people, but I think that like any creature, they have needs, and if they're desperate or they think they can get away with it, they might take people and eat them. And a lot of Indian tribes have stories of cannibal giants. So anyway, I don't think Bigfoot is really the point of Missing 411. And I think David Pilates knows a lot, and he is really big on not telling you what it is for two reasons. The number one reason is he wants to sell books, and he doesn't want to give away his ending. He doesn't want to foreshadow too much. He never shares an opinion, which is very frustrating. And I think that's the reason why he blocked me on Twitter back in the day, is I think I was doing a Missing 411 book review or something, and he blocked me, or he thought that I was saying Bigfoot was the cause of it, which if he actually listened to me, I said, no, I think Bigfoot's a symptom, not the cause. But anyway, and I've had a lot of people have talked to him and said that he's very, he's very pompous. He has a lot of hubris. But he's a very smart guy, and he wants to protect his intellectual property. So I kind of see both sides of it. I've never met the man. I'd love to talk to him one day. But yeah, so David Pilates, I've heard good things and bad things about him. There's a lot of theories that he's some kind of government insider or he's a disinformation campaign. I don't know about that. But the overall point of what he does is bringing attention to these missing person cases. I think is a very good service, bringing these cases to life. And, when the authorities and all the different, the government, local government, sheriff's offices can't determine what's going on, at least he gives these stories a voice and they won't be forgotten. And I think that's important. I think it's also a very stern warning, like what I always say on the channel: stay safe in the woods, be prepared, go armed, take a buddy, have some kind of GPS locator or something. And yeah, so anyway, go check out Missing 411 Hunted. I liked it way better than the first one, which was just Missing 411. That movie was like, it was just a couple stories of missing kids, and they were heartbreaking, and there were interviews, and then it was just kind of it. They didn't really speculate, they didn't talk too much about it. This one really kind of dove deep in there. So go check out Missing 411 Hunted. So the other thing I want to talk to you guys about is this Monday I will be on the Venomous Fringe podcast. I think you look up Venomous Fringe YouTube, and there's going to be some kind of a big roundtable discussion. It's going to be like 5 hours. It's going to be like a marathon thing. Myself and I believe 5 or 6 other researchers are going to be on this big roundtable discussion. We're all doing it virtually, obviously. So it's going to be on Google Hangouts, and we're going to call in. Some people have an avatar. I think I'm just going to show my ugly face. Yeah, probably like what you're seeing here. But yeah, it's going to be a 5 hour long discussion. There'll be a 10-minute break at the top of an hour. They have a whole list of sections, a whole list of questions with different sections of every kind of paranormal topic: from Bigfoot, Dogman, orbs, paranormal stuff. What do you think about the lizard man? What do you think about this? It's going to be pretty wild. I'll be completely honest, the list of researchers that are on there, I've never heard of any of them. I have no idea who these people are. I've been told that they are good, honest researchers, people who are very smart. And Ryan and the people who are putting this thing together, I trust them. I've just never heard of them, and I don't know anything about their work. I guess they're very scientific based, and I guess they're very nuts and bolts scientific, flesh and blood type researchers, which is where we kind of all start and eventually end up crazy like me when you realize that doesn't explain anything. So we'll see. This should be interesting. I think I'm going to be kind of the wild card in all of this. So yeah. Anyway, it's going to be Venomous Fringe. Venomous Fringe. It's going to be Monday. I'm on the West Coast, so I think it's going to be from like 3 to 7 for me. But I think it's going to be more like 6 to 10 Eastern or Mountain. Anyway, I just know when I'm supposed to call in. They sent me a whole bunch of questions, and they're like, do you want to write it out? Do you want to, I glanced over the questions, and I'm like, no, I pretty much just like doing it spur of the moment off the top of my head. I looked at the questions, some very interesting ones. There's only one or two that I think I really wanted to even research. But yeah, anyway, it should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. It should be a marathon roundtable, though. So are you going to send out a reminder? I might. That morning I'll probably do a quick live stream or show a video. Hey guys, check out tonight, and leave you a link in the description and all that, if I'm motivated enough. I've had so much going on in my personal life with my friends, family. I've just had very little time for this YouTube thing, even though it's something I really enjoy. Anyway, so those are the two first things. We talked about Missing 411. We talked about Venomous Fringe Monday evening, the roundtable discussion. The other thing, and I wanted to make a separate video about it, but I think I'm just going to do it here in live stream form just to kind of get it out. It's been something I've been mulling over in my head. Now, people ask me about the origins of Dogman, and I think a lot of what I'm just using Dogman as subject. I think a lot of this applies to Sasquatch, or like these lizard man things, or mountain giants, or pukwudgies and gnomes, and a lot of the other little creatures. I think it applies to a lot of them, but Dogman in particular. If we back up a little bit, I think Bigfoot is, there's a lot of people want to ignore Dogman because there's a lot of scientific evidence for Sasquatch, Bigfoots, and fossil record, an upright, large, walking, hairy hominid. I'm an upright, large, walking, hairy hominid. Seen in the woods, surviving, Native American oral traditions, sightings. They're sighted all over the world. Virtually every continent has a Bigfoot, or their version of it. And I think when you get into Dogman, a lot of that's kind of like, whoa, an upright walking canine. Yeah, there are lots of canine species currently and extinct, but nothing really walking upright. And I think, especially with Hollywood and werewolf type stuff, what do you think about How to Hunt and Steve? He's great. I believe his photos. I believe his stories. Might he embellish a little bit? Yeah, I think we all do. But I believe what he's saying. I think he does great work. I reached out to him a couple of times and never heard back, but I know he's a super busy guy. So anyway, Yeah, so going back to the origins, I got to stop looking at the pictures. Stop asking me questions because you're going to distract me, and I got a point to make here. So when it comes to Dogman, there's not a lot of like how evolutionary or even from a creationism point of view or anything in the middle could this creature exist. And for me, if you look at the historical accounts, if you look at, depictions of St. Christopher, Anubis going way back, a lot of the pictures of a lot of pictures of there being an upright walking canine. Now, some of them are depicted as a human with a dog head, and some of them are like your classic werewolf, and some look more like a hyena. Some look more like an upright Doberman, really skinny. Like Anubis kind of has like a Doberman head, unlike a human body. And cynocephalus, I believe, is the term for it. So I think one of the, we could look for a naturalistic origin, a lot like a Bigfoot, that through evolution and around the world, although I think that holds a lot less weight of them being some kind of a natural creature, of Dogman being a natural creature. So I think if you look at the idea of Dogman having some kind of genetic manipulation, either from a society long ago, maybe from tens of thousands of years ago, maybe even a society forgotten by human beings, to maybe our modern day government experiments, or maybe an ancient species that was created by another long-time civilization that has been modified over the years. I think that holds a lot more weight. And I think for the physical encounters where people see where these things leave tracks, where they hear their howls, where they see them going through the bushes, where they see them hunting, where they hear them growl, where they see their nose and eyes pressed up against the glass staring at them through the window, I think with Dogman that there's definitely a physical creature that's going on here, whatever their origins may be. Are they an offshoot of the Nephilim that gets thrown around with Bigfoot? Now, not necessarily that they are a demon, but many eons ago, if you're believe in the Bible, when half of heaven when half of heaven went with the devil and half of heaven stayed with God, and the sons of God, the angels, came down and procreated with human beings, and their offspring became the Nephilim. Maybe there's something there that through the term chimera comes up in the Bible, where you have these crossbreeds and genetic mutilations and mutations. And you look all through the monsters of histories, like dragons and griffins and lion men and Sasquatch and giants and all sorts of beasts and serpents. And you look at the cryptozoological world, and there's a lot of parallel there of the strange creatures people see. But at the same time, you look at a lot of biblical and ancient texts and stuff like that, and you're like, whoa, there's a lot of stuff that lines up here. So was it ancient civilizations? Was it some unholy demonic thing? As far as the creation of Dogman and some of these very strange creatures out there that people report and see, that's one possibility. So you have one, that there's some kind of a naturalistic creature that may or may not have been tampered with through civilizations. You have that there's some kind of a Nephilim, unholy crossbreed with some kind of a supernatural force to them. And I think the third option, really, for the origins of Dogman is probably something along the lines of being an extra dimensional creature. Maybe there's facets of all three of them. That there's another parallel dimension where dogs became the primary inhabitant of the earth for intelligence, because dogs are fairly intelligent. They're a very intelligent creature. Where primates weren't it, and dogs were it. And maybe through their own advancements in another parallel dimension, maybe there's a parallel dimension with Bigfoots and Dogmans and all these other strange creatures, and they phase in and out. I don't know. So I think the extra dimensional creature type theory, and it kind of also goes in there. I think it's interesting that there's theories of aliens, that they're more interdimensional, or they're a demon masquerading as an alien, telling you that they're from another planet when they're really not. It's deception, because remember, deception is the heart of evil and the Bible and all that other kind of stuff. So, so I think you have a kind of a more naturalistic approach. You have a genetic engineering, and then I think you have a more biblical explanation in chimeras. And then I think you have more of an extra dimensional type explanation for the origins of a lot of these creatures. And then The other one, which is kind of an offshoot of the biblical one, is a while back when I was talking to Dave Outlandish. What about orbs portals? We'll talk about orbs. All right, I got to stop looking at the questions because I'm going to want to answer them and be distracted. So let me get through this and we'll do Q&A. All right, guys? So I think that there's many different options and many different scenarios, and I don't know what right or wrong, and it changes daily on which one I kind of lean towards. Maybe they're all correct. A while back, talking to Dave Outlandish on a podcast, he was, and also a guest on there, and he was talking. He's a demonologist. He helps people get in touch with dark entities to promote their future. Real serious stuff. I mean, he's a guy you don't want to mess with. I mean, altars and pentagrams and blood and sacrifices and talking to demons, all the kind of crazy shit that most paranormal people go, even if you're into ghost hunting, we go back away, not today. I asked him what his take was on it, and I said, and I think the question I asked specifically was, do you think Dogman could be the physical manifestation, along with Lizard Man and some of these other really crazy things that they see? Do you think Dogman could be a physical manifestation, like a demon absorbing enough energy and taking the form of a Dogman to scare somebody? Like we all think, I think we all think in the back of our mind, like if there's a demon or an entity, it could, show up as, our dead grandma and pretend to be them, but they're not really them, or they could be a demon with your classic horns and the pointy tail. Or kind of like in the movie It, where a demon could assume a form they know would scare you. And I said, do you think they would do that? And he said, well, yeah, if they had enough energy, time, and resources that they would want to expend on scaring you, I guess they could turn into a dogman or a werewolf if they know that it would scare you. But they said, why would a demon care about you? Why would they want to go through all that trouble to frighten you when you're out in the woods hunting? Why would they do that? And I said, I don't know. He said, you got to understand there's got to be something in it for the demon. So if a couple of hunters, just as an example, are walking through the woods and they're coming across an altar or dimension, something that a demon does not want them to be around, it would be way easier for them to make me hallucinate to think that I'm seeing a dogman over there. And even two people were like, was that a wolf walking upright? Is that one of those dogman creatures? Is that a werewolf? Yeah, dude, I think it is. What the hell is that? It's like 8 foot tall. Look at the fangs on that thing. It would be easier for a demon to make two people, even three people, hallucinate and to think that it's going on, to put that image in our brain to trick us, than it would be to actually manifest it. And that's something I hadn't really thought of, and I've been thinking about a lot lately, especially because there are reports of dogmen of people shooting at them and bleeding, people shooting at them and chunks of flesh coming off, them leaving tracks and having world. There's also a bunch of people that say, yeah, I saw this upright walking creature. I didn't even know what a dogman was till I researched it on the internet, but I shot at it with a rifle, 30-06 rifle, right through it, not even phased, like it wasn't even there, like it was a hologram or a hallucination. So I think that might be what's going on in some of the cases. I think you could also have an extra dimensional argument that you're shooting at a creature that's not fully in this realm, so it's almost kind of like invisible, or it's just a projection of an image, like maybe just a little bit of his rough outline is visible in a certain light spectrum, but the bullets will pass through it, But yeah, I thought that was very interesting to think like, and he was just very matter of fact, Dave. He was like, why would a demon waste the time to manifest itself as a dog or as a demon wolf or a werewolf? It's like, why wouldn't it just make you think you're seeing one? Why wouldn't it just, make you hallucinate in your mind like a bad LSD trip that you're seeing one over there? And no, I've never taken hardcore drugs, but I know people who've taken LSD or ayahuasca or some of these other very big hallucinogens, and it's just like as clear as day, like you could reach out and touch it. There'll be like a shark in the middle of the living room floating in the air, or a giant spider this big walking up the walls, clear as day. And they know, depending on how lucid they are at the time, that like, well, yeah, man, there's a giant spider walking on the wall. I know it's not real, but I see it, because they can understand that that doesn't exist. So if the chemical reactions in your brain can hallucinate these things, and a lot of times your brain's gonna, like a bad dream, is gonna manifest your fears. That maybe a demonic entity could do the same. And I thought that was a very interesting explanation. One of the possibilities of why sometimes people shoot at these creatures, or they see them and they vanish, or they appear and disappear, or they don't leave tracks or physical evidence. So it's just, one of the things to think about out there. Cheers from California. Hey, I'm in California too. Anyway, so we talked about Missing 411. We talked about the Venomous Fringe thing Monday night. We talked about Origins of Dogman and other stuff like that. We got a little bit of time left here. What time is it? 10:59. So I think we're going to do a little Q&A. We'll keep it short today. We'll probably keep this, we're at 26 minutes. We'll probably do an hour or so. Anyway, angels can't reproduce. Well, then that's supposedly where the Nephilim came from, the fallen angels, and they came down, and it's right there in the Bible. Maybe they can't. I don't know, but it's just going on what the Bible says. What are orb portals? Well, there seems to be different. Some people call them portals or vortexes. I call them areas of high strangeness. Yosemite seems to be one. Skinwalker Ranch type stuff. So it almost seems like there are certain areas at certain times of the year. Like Skinwalker Ranch, from the people I know that have been there, go there a month and not see anything, not even get creeped out. And then there are other times you go there 10 minutes and you'll see a strange orb, or you see something go by and it has regions of dormancy. And maybe that's something how our planet spinning, moving through a spinning solar system, moving around a galaxy in certain times of year and certain alignments and everything else. I don't know. Or there's some kind of intelligent force that says, yeah, open up the gate, let them in. Or don't open the gate, let them in. It always seems to me that it's whenever there's a camera and people are watching, it's don't let them in. When you put the camera down and you're going to go pee on a tree, that's when you let the creepy stuff happen. It's like half the time I'm in the woods, I'm like, why am I even bothering with the camera? Why do I even try to go do this? I just consider it more of a hike these days. I'm almost giving up on the paranormal because I'm like, I'm never going to catch it. It's like the harder you look, the farther away you're going to get from it. So yeah, orbs I think are just they're either a disembodied spirit, or like some kind of a drone from another dimension, maybe a demonic or heavenly drone of some kind, just a ball of pure energy as a spirit flowing around. That's what orbs are. Some of them, like in Anza-Borrego, the ghost lights of Anza-Borrego have been known to lead orbs to people to their deaths and crash trains and do all this really crazy stuff. So there's definitely some kind of intelligence to them. Anyway, Matt, any Mothman sightings on the West Coast? Not that I've heard of. I have Bigfoot, Dogman. I've heard of Thunderbird sightings out here. I've heard of Lizard Man sightings out here. I've heard of Pugwudgies and Little People sightings out here. I've heard of different types of ghosts and other paranormal. I don't think I've ever heard of a Mothman sighting out here. Maybe that's just a pure East Coast thing. Anyway, are there any Bigfoot hotspots in the UK? There are. If you go to Beast of Britain, he's a Bigfoot researcher who works exclusively in the UK. He knows a lot more about that than me. The word Nephilim is not in the Bible. Well, fallen angels, if you look, it depends on what version of the Bible you're talking about, because I think it's the Orthodox Ethiopian versions of the Bible. They include the Book of Enoch, which specifically says Nephilim. But if you just want to look at the fallen angels, anyway, it's a term that we use for cross. Hey, Ryan. Mogion Monster, I shall get into contact very soon. Been really busy preparing for the 27th. Yeah, me too. I was just plugging your stuff on here for Venomous Fringe. Yeah, right. Yeah, the Mogion Monster, it's supposedly, from what I've heard, a very aggressive strain. I think they're somewhere between a type 2 or like a type 1, almost kind of a crossbreed, or maybe they have both in the Mogion Rim, kind of a regional variance. Duke from World Bigfoot Radio, he thinks that there's some kind of like a troll because they have like these big long nose and they look more like an overgrown ogre troll type looking thing from the images that have been captured from the Mogollon Rim. They seem to be very aggressive, so be careful out there, buddy. I know you will. anywhere. Uh, Almost walked into another dimension once. It was beautiful. My mom called me and I went back to look for it. Never found it again. Yeah, I would have dreams. It's very funny you say that because I would have dreams once every couple months that it would be my house, my work, but my work would be different. Like you go down a hallway and there was another level and I would walk around. But in real life, I know that didn't exist. There was like an alternate reality of the world that I lived in that I would visit in my dreams. And it was about 80% the same. But there would be a building there that wasn't there before, or a house there, something there before. Like I dreamed at my work in the basement, there was a secret nightclub you could go visit, and it was just for employees only. You can go in there after work and have a drink, and there was people playing a piano. It was like your classic like nightclub, but it was in the bottom of a hospital. And this was just a dream I was reoccurring. Like, yeah, you go to the basement where the pharmacy is, and then there was another level down below, and there was a secret nightclub in a hospital. Weird. And I had this dream all the time, and I'm like, in what parallel dimension and in some other universe is there a damn nightclub in the bottom of a hospital? But it was just this weird dream I was having. And there was other weird dreams where I was having where I'd be in my house or at my mom's house, or it'd be the house I grew up in, but it was a little different laid out, or there'd be another room or something. Very, very strange. Very, very strange. Have you seen the Latin American video of a dogman camera terrorizing a village? Yeah, that was a creepy ass video. Oh, sorry, iPad fell over. I have it balanced on a bunch of my daughter's kids' books. Yeah, that was a very crazy video. I think it might be real. It certainly freaked me out. I think as time goes on and cameras are more and more, and as society gets more frantic and there's more people and more cameras, and the world gets stranger, I think we're going to see more and more of these creatures out there. And I think, it's a 1 in a million chance you get them on film, but there are billions of people and billions of cameras. So that 1 in a million chance doesn't seem so far fetched, if that puts it into perspective. Uh, hey, Hemet Lake. It's not too far from me. I'm in Orange County. Are we going to get more paranormal stories from your old workplace? I would, except no one watched those videos. I took my buddy Ed. This was back in January before the COVID hit, and we went and walked around there and showed him all the stuff. And I gave him like a good 3 hour like tour of the whole area. And memories were coming back to me. Some of the monuments and things that we saw, we realized are facing like true north and true south. Some of the areas where I know where suicide happens. Yeah, I think I could go back and do a part two or a follow up. It was really crazy. The building that's on the corner, that the fourth floor where all the strange stuff happened. We went over to the building and it was like 6:30 at night on like a Wednesday or something, and there's a coffee shop down there, and it was over by the Performing Arts Center. And we went over to the building and said, let's see if the lobby door's open. The lobby door's open. So I went to the elevator, and I knew you had to have a key card to like key up, but I just said, what the hell? We went in the elevator and I hit fourth floor, and it went, and it opened up in the lobby. In the lobby, there was doors on either side, and there were keys still in the door. And we worked in maintenance together, and we know, hey, those are construction keys. So we opened the door, and we got to go wander around in a lot of the areas the encounters happen. I mean, these are kind of bad contractors because the elevator was wide open and there were tools and plans and shit, everything left out. They were very clearly building it out for lease. I drove by it a few months later and it looked like it was occupied and they had built it all out. But I'm like, this is kind of shitty security. Then back in the day when I was security, I wouldn't have let that happen. But it was pretty cool to go back and very creepy. No, nothing happened. It was getting kind of dark, but it was definitely kind of an eerie spot to go back to those areas again and to actually go up on the floor that I thought I would never be back in a million years. We walked around, we talked about a bunch of stuff, and he had a bunch of questions, and we drove around some of the old areas and stuff like that. So, yeah, so to go back some of the stories, I guess I could do a part two or a follow up. I did feel a little conspicuous walking around, filming a bunch of things, talking, especially back in January. That was when, it was the weather in Southern California. It was like 75 degrees out, and people are like having dinner and sitting at coffee shops and walking around and looking at artwork. And here we're just kind of like two dudes talking about ghosts and paranormal. And yeah, that's where the suicide happened. And this is where this thing over here happened over there. And everybody's just, in a well-to-do neighborhood giving us a weird look. But yeah, it was definitely, I'd love to go back and take a look at it again. Any other questions? Are you familiar with the tales of Nordic aliens? Do you think of a range of alien races? Well, I happen to know quite a few people in the UFO world, the alien world, and yeah, I believe it. If aliens are a real thing, then it would make sense there's more than one race because there's millions of galaxies and stars and planets, and you know, some bred off of others, created others, whatever. You know, we're all under this universe under God. What time is it? 11:08. All right, I got to get going soon. But yeah, I definitely think there's probably a whole midrid of alien species. Even in normal, like, Cousin Bill got abducted kind of alien stories. People talk about short grays, tall grays. People talk about reptoids. People talk about being contacted by tall Nordic blonde type aliens. So yeah, I think there's a bunch of them out there. Bigfoot is a type of alien also. Possibly, I think there's some kind of connection there. I've heard stories of them being a spy, or I think some of these, you know, one of the theories about Bigfoot is that, and there's stories I can't really share yet because I don't have permissions from the people who've told them to me. Um, but it almost seems to me that Bigfoot is almost like a protector or a watchdog, maybe Dogman too, watchdog, of certain vortexes and portals out there, and that they're kind of spies and they're told to go live in the woods, survive, and let us know, or to scare people away from these portals, maybe for our own good. I don't know, but I think there's some kind of a UFO Bigfoot connection there. Um, Glad you're back. Hey, let's see here. What are your thoughts on the Dogman video that looks like a Skyrim? Yeah, I think it's a fake. There's a lot of fakes out there. Just use your best judgment. They say Dogman kills rakes and creatures like that. Yeah, if you just accept the fact that people are saying strange creatures all throughout the woods, and some of them appear to be violent and have hyper carnivore type features with claws and horrible fangs and all that other kind of stuff, it only makes sense that they would probably battle and fight for food, water, whatever their higher purposes if they have one. So yeah, I mean, if I'm walking through the woods and I saw a 7 or 8 foot long white gangly creature that looked like some kind of a ghoul fighting a 7 or 8 or 9 foot tall werewolf, I'm gonna back away from that one. No, I'm not taking a picture. Uh, Back in the 70s, Leonard Nimoy investigated Mount Mothman sightings in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Yeah, I know. Hey Matt, I want you on my show. Well, email me mattsquatchpresents at Gmail, and I'll be on your show. Did you see Hellier? Johnny, it's really good. It's on Amazon Prime and YouTube. Well, I know that wasn't directed at me, but yes, I saw Hellier and I really liked it. And I reached out to Greg and Dana Newkirk on Instagram. I sent them a couple of emails because I know about a property in the southern United States that, as the crows fly, isn't that far from Hellier, that a lot of strange things happened that are very much up their alley with a lot of these rake demon type creatures, Bigfoot activity, orbs. And it was mind blowing to me, the same things they were talking about, I was talking about. And they're big proponents of synchronicity and researchers. And this person reached out, and I reached out to him several times and I never heard anything back. I guess they're busy people with their traveling museum, Planet Weird stuff. Um, I really liked the first part of Hellier better than the second part. The second part of Hellier, I think, got really far in the weeds. And they kept talking about they're trying to track down these people that don't exist and they're getting these strange emails and check this out. And it was a lot of intrigue. But by the second season, it was still really good. Maybe it's just a monster hunter in me. I kind of wish there was more of them actually going through the bushes and looking for these creatures and finding evidence, and less time investigating. I know that doesn't make sense from somebody who calls himself a paranormal investigator, but I think they're spending a lot of time hunting down leads that didn't going anywhere than focusing on what really they were trying to get at. And I think just because they're more paranormal people, more ghost hunters, and I'm more cryptozoological evidence, monster in the woods type base. And he even addressed that, I think, at one point, where he said, look, we use seances and we use, you know, offerings and that kind of stuff that's a lot more paranormal ghost hunter kind of base stuff than me, that uses more like EMF meters and calls and camera traps and shotgun in the woods looking through the bushes for these type of creatures. So I think it's just two different approaches to the same question. But yeah, I definitely did like the first season better than the second. But Hellier was a good series. Go check it out. There's a lot of stuff that I've been talking about for years. The whole time I'm like, I've been talking about the whole time watching it. I was just blown away because I'm like, this is the same shit I've been talking about for years, and it's just kind of funny. Um, Matt, you're number one. Thank you. I'm used to usually being on somebody's number two. Um, would you like to visit it, Matt Hellier? Yeah, I think I would like to go with the people from them, or I'd like to go with somebody who's been there before. I don't know. It seems like kind of a small rural community that I think if I just drove out there by myself with a gun on my hip and started walking around abandoned properties, I think I might be asking for trouble, and I don't mean paranormal. I'd definitely like to go with someone who's been there before. Enoch and Nephilim are in the book of Genesis. Yes, they are. Has anyone seen a Gugwe? No, and I hope not to. But I want to learn about Bigfoot. Well, if you're new to my channel, go back. I've made over like 200 videos on it. And listen to Sasquatch Chronicles and Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. And yeah. All right, we'll do a couple more questions. We'll hang it up here. Um, I know Matt is 100. What, 100 years old? Sometimes I feel like it. Do you watch River Monsters? I don't watch a lot of network television. No, my mom watches a lot of that stuff. Um, Re Catalado, incorrect. Plenty of people have seen Dogman, and even me, I 100% believe Dogman. Too many people. I think when you put on all caps, a paranormal one, a UFO, a ghost one, that helps as an investigator. And I completely agree. Last year when I couldn't go because of my father was dying of cancer, I got invited to go to an area of high strangeness, and that's exactly what the people who were investigating this property wanted. They wanted a a cryptid Bigfoot type person, me. They wanted UFO people, alien UFO type researchers, and then they wanted paranormal ghost hunter type people to go out there. I couldn't go, quite frankly, from some of the stories the place sounded downright dangerous. Um, I'm trying to get permission so I can talk about this because this is something that happened a couple years ago. Any human deaths documented by Dogman? Well, there's plenty of deaths out there that have never been documented. Um, Down to South Texas as well. Yeah, I think the whole southern border is very underrated for creepy ass stuff. Is Sasquatch a living Gigantopithecus? That's a theory that's been floated around. You got to remember Gigantopithecus. If I remember correctly, we found found like a jaw and some teeth, and we've extrapolated from there. So we really don't know if it was more plantigrade, where it walked around like on all fours, like a like a orangutan or like a gorilla. They know it's somewhat like a orangutan, or if it walked upright, or there's also the theory that what they know about Gigantopithecus is that maybe it really is something a lot like a Bigfoot, and they're kind of throwing what they tell the public. I don't know. It very well could be. I think there's just so much questions about what a Gigantopithecus is before we can ask whether or not that's what Bigfoot is. But the presence of very large apes out there have been answered with the Gigantopithecus. Yes, they can get 7, 8, 9, 10 feet tall. They can have a huge body mass. They can be supported by certain environments for that much food and water and resources. So I think the Gigantopithecus proves a lot. And I think there is a Bigfoot connection. But how close and what it is, I'm not sure. Do a couple more questions. Missing in Alaska, I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it. Like I said, I don't watch. Anyway, I don't watch a lot of TV, like I said. I find myself, if I have a half hour by myself, I'm either watching like either like major projects, engineering type stuff, or car videos on YouTube because I just want to escape for a little bit, and I love cars. But yeah, my life's just too busy to watch a lot of network television. Although my wife and I were up late last night watching Hoarders. See that show, Hoarders? All the people in their house and their cats and all the shit and stuff everywhere. I mean, it's just like watching a train wreck. Every time we watch Hoarders, and I keep my house pretty neat, we're like, we need to clean. We need to do a deep clean. Uh, anyway, have you recently heard any theory about those cone skulls with red hair, Bigfoot skulls? No, I think a lot of those, I think those are some kind of an ancient human maybe alien or some kind of a crossbreed or something very human-like but not human. I don't necessarily think they're Sasquatch. Um, just saw something interesting. I've always heard of ghost lights and how they're associated with UFO, Bigfoots, etc. Grandma used to call them gypsy lanterns. They're history of all over the world, all over. Matt, you need self-care. Take time from the busyness. Yep. The Paracas skulls. Thank you very much. Hey, Duke, we're just talking about you. You're like on my top, like, 3 trusted, like, Bigfoot researchers. Yes, the Paracas skulls, Ron Moorhead did a bunch of work on it. They don't have the sagittal sutures and a lot of the stuff that modern humans do. So they're not like a modern human skull that are stretched. They're some kind of a separate, either deformity almost, but they have a lot of features that aren't very human-like, so they're almost past deformity. Um, they're like a separate species, whatever they are, from another planet, from another dimension, from crossbreed, from some kind of a Nephilim species. I don't know, but the Paracas skulls are very interesting, and it's amazing how these giant skeletons they find that they openly display in South America, Paracas skulls. You can look at the depictions of like Quetzalcoatl and stuff like that. And modern humans we just ignore it. It doesn't fit in our narrative. So we just, la la la, it doesn't exist. What do you think of these strange skulls that aren't human? La la la, it doesn't exist. You know? It, anyway. I got Ryan Tremblay, I got Duke, I got Robert, I got all my, hey, I got 113 people logged on. That's kind of a lot, right? Anyway, we're going to hang it up here pretty soon. I got to go pick up my daughter. But thank you guys very much for logging on. I'm pretty sure Sasquatch would be great if it was proven we can learn about them. Cousins, I believe in Sasquatch. Tells, I believe in Sasquatch. Cousins say doesn't. Well, there's something you got to remember with Bigfoot, and I'll keep it brief. There's something about these creatures that the higher powers that be don't want us to discover. I think if they were just a large ape in the woods or some kind of primitive humans, they would be protected and we would accept it. But I think there's something else going on, and we've made a lot of other videos about that. Matt will be in touch. Yeah, email me, mattsquatchpresents@gmail.com. Anyway, Duke, thank you very much. One of my paranormal heroes. Brian, everybody show up. Thanks for the live stream. I know it's just kind of off the cuff here in the afternoon. Stay safe. Stay safe out there. Keep your cameras ready. Carry a gun if you can. Stay strapped or get clapped. Anyway, peace out, folks.